I'm Felix. First time in Moscow, first time in Russia. Very impressed with this country. Had no idea what to expect, but very cool place. So today, I'm going to be talking about playable ads and the kind of 10 commandments that Adikteev has kind of put together and crystallized from us building roughly something like 480 playables a year. And pretty much these are the 10 points that we found are really helpful to make your playable ads perform a lot better. Please, if anyone has any questions, just kind of shout it out. If something doesn't make sense, call me out on it, and I'll be happy to answer it. So why should you listen to us? So Adikteev actually started his life as a playable ads company. We only built playable ads for Machine Zone back in 2013, and we pretty much focused on that. A couple of guys sitting in a basement building only playables. So that's quite a long time. Now we have a creative in-house studio of 25 designers that's split between Paris and Berlin. I guess for Paris, for the creative atmosphere, they're soaking it up. And then Berlin, I guess kind of the wacky fun side of building playables, but it works really well. So last year, we built 482 playables. That averages out to about 1.3 playables per day that our creative team basically comes out with. This year, we're slated to build, I think, 540 playables. Here are some brands that we currently work with. So lately, we're kind of riding the tail end of a beautiful tide that is the rise of playables. As you can see, the effectiveness, excitement, and usage is just pretty much increasing. And yeah, playable output, get a lot better CTR, and basically what we do with playables is that we're able to outperform video, which has been pretty much the best performing ad format for most advertisers to date. So without further ado, I'm going to hop straight to kind of the first, probably the most obvious and a bit more boring commandment for playable ads, and that's around kind of the copy and CTA and button. It's a bit basic, but pretty much you'd be surprised how long it took us to figure this out. And that is just to have a clear, concise CTA and always have a button that's in a drastically different color from the rest of the playable. So this is a playable that we built for Blizzard, for Hearthstone. Really good performance. I think we had a CTR on average 7% on this one. And it's kind of an interesting ad because it combines a video with an interactive format. I'll show you how it works. Oh. So pretty much has a video format on top, so it harnesses the energy of kind of a video ad while also having some sort of interactive element below. You can see that the button is really clearly visible. It's in purple. I don't know if anyone speaks French in here. No. Anyway, découvrir means discover, and we found that the shorter the actionable verbs are in the CTA buttons, the better it works. So I think the best performing verbs we have is build, do it, and create. And those verbs tend to perform better, about 2.2% better than kind of the longer verbs. So pretty much just abandon that download now, play now, because people see it too often, and it's about surprising the user, so you kind of want to click on something. That brings us on to kind of the second commandment, and that is be relevant. There's so much talk in this industry right now about your ads need to be personalized. At Adikteev, we realize that that's kind of a bit of bull. I don't believe it personally, but what we do think at Adikteev is that there is a perfect ad for a group of users. And you guys know your users pretty much better than anyone, but what you can do then is tailor and build playable ads towards these type of users. So these are examples of a campaign we did for Royal Revolt 2 for retargeting. And first of all, I'm going to show you this playable where we showcased kind of a pet feature. It's one of their best-selling features. So we built this to kind of highlight the different pets you can get. We put 4 deep links in this. So basically, whatever the user clicked, they were given this pet. Very effective to kind of drive first-time purchases. And then we knew that users past level 30 have access to the multiplayer feature of the game. So then we kind of built a different type of playable that centers around the multiplayer feature. And you're basically given a ticket, and then you can compete for free in kind of a multiplayer game that's usually reserved otherwise. So number 3 is probably the biggest surprise that came to me from working with playable ads. So as you can see, this is one we built for King. when we first signed them up, everyone was really excited. The creative lead, Leo, French guy, really talented, got so excited, so he was, really amped up. He wanted to make the best playable possible. I think he spent 3 weeks coding this ad, like this playable, to look exactly like the game feature. And so we launched the playable, and then we launched the playable. Okay, the video's not working. Either way, we launched a playable, and then we took a look at the data after like 4 days, and we were getting CTRs of 1.1%, which is abysmal for a playable. Usually that's what we get kind of on statics, and we're like, what the hell's going on? We spent 2 weeks building this, terrible CTRs. So we sat down, we took a look at actually the data and see what's going on, and we found that we actually had interaction rates. So people who saw the ad and interacted with it, of 17.8%, almost 18% of people who saw the ad spent time playing in it, and they actually spent 11 seconds on average interacting with the ad. So pretty much that gave birth to something in Adikteev we call the good-bad scale, the GB scale. So basically, we realized that if you make a playable too good and too much like the in-game mechanics, people kind of get their fill, get their dopamine kick that they normally get from your game, and they don't convert. Same thing if you make the playable too crappy, no one wants to interact with it. So there's a beautiful spot in the middle, and that's where you want to be when you're making your playables. Also, the fourth commandment that we realized is that some people are super lazy, and you need to let people have the choice to be lazy. So this is a playable we built for Jam City. Shows kind of the in-game features as a match 3. So yeah, you can see beautiful gameplay, but we weren't getting that good CTRs because people kind of weren't finishing the ad. So we added this button right here. That's a bonus button. Basically, what happens if you click the bonus button, it kind of gives you a bonus and finishes the whole game for you and takes you straight to kind of the end card. And then we found that this bonus button was clicked a hell of a lot more often kind of in the nighttime. So post kind of like 11 o'clock at night when people are kind of lazy playing in their bed, like kind of what we realized. But you need to have basically a incentive so you can have people finish the ad quicker if they want to. And then probably one of the most important things is testing. So a good benchmark that we say at Adikteev when we start working with a brand new app and we're building new playables is that we're looking for CTRs usually around 5% for the first iteration. So that's kind of a good benchmark of what we want to achieve for a playable. But then the beautiful thing about playables is that you get tons and tons of data. So we track the analytics in the app or in the playables to create kind of a data set to see what people are doing in the playable and how they're interacting with it. And at the same time, we're also switching out some features with our DCO engine, so fonts, characters, colors. So then when we have ad fatigue, usually after 5 weeks, we basically sit down with the data team, and the creative team sits down and goes, this worked really well, this didn't work. So let's build the new playable based on data rather on what we think. And basically then you can drive performance to create a better and better playable. Usually after like the 4th or 5th iteration, we're getting somewhere up to 7 to 8% click-through rates. And that's just through testing. This is one we did for Zeptolab. So now we kind of started playing around as well with deep links and using multiple deep links in playables. And we found that that's extremely effective, especially when you combined it with a rewarded feature to turn, so pretty much players into payers, first-time purchasers. So I'll show you this one. So this one has 4 deep links in it. So it's centered around kind of the new weapons that are coming out every month for cats. And then we found that pretty much if you click one of the weapons in the ad, you're actually given it in the game as a reward. We found that, for example, for this one, the flamethrower performed better than by a factor of 4. So then for Zeptolab, we actually have 3 sets of data to kind of use together with the DCO and the analytics. So basically, we know for the future that we should always have a flamethrower in their ads, or even make a playable that's centered around the flamethrower because people love it. Also, I don't know, is anyone kind of just getting started with playables? Is it quite early for most people? Do you guys do it in-house or anyone? Or either way, so yeah, in-house, cool. So this is how we kind of got started. So this is a picture of kind of one of my favorite ads, and I'll kind of explain like why it's so basic, even though it looks so good. So first, you gotta get started by having a choice. It's in French because that's where the campaign was. So pretty much, you get to kill Nazi soldiers. So pretty much as soon as you fire, it's quite an actionable thing. We had really good interaction rates with this. And basically only took us about a week to build, because basically what we did was we were a bit sneaky. So this is actually not a playable per se. What we did was we took a video, a UA video, and then we pretty much just added a second layer on top that was the gun that you clicked on and it fires. So pretty much we took a video ad and made it into a playable. Super simple, super easy way to start. And then basically, if you guys are using video ads right now, that's a really easy step to kind of start. So when we started out, we started pretty much out by taking videos and basically making them a bit playable. So here's another example of one that basically I think we built 3 years ago. So it was a UA video, and we basically made it a stop and start feature when you're supposed to fire in the video. So it's going to make sense now when you see it. So see the guy, we pause the video, and then you unpause it by clicking it. And we added a card that says tap to shoot. It's not a playable, but it was a kind of a good foundation for us to start by building playable. So it gave us a lot of knowledge, and you need to start somewhere. So if you haven't started building playables yet, think about how you can use your videos and actually turn them into playables. Great game. Look at that. So kind of the last, or second to last, is about kind of our screw-ups. So throughout this process, we have made so many ads, you'd be surprised, that have had terrible performance. And I don't like reading off slides usually, but I'm going to make an exception because playables that rely on sound and the gyro do not work ever. Ever. So I'll show you this one. I'm sure you can work out why it was so bad for us. But this is for Deer Hunter, a fishing game. And it was centered around kind of using the gyro to flick the phone. But you kind of needed to flick the phone quite hard. And it kind of resulted in a lot of people testing it that actually like threw their phone across the office. And then the gyro, you don't know what people are doing when they're holding the phone. So it's kind of hard to calibrate. So the click-through rates were atrociously bad because no one could get past the click. And it was terrible to explain it. We also tried out basically using the gyro for, sneaky. All right, anyway, for the crash one, it's basically we added video and we added a layer on top, and you could use the gyro to kind of look around and focus on different points in the video. Sounded amazingly cool, worked atrociously bad. I think the CTR was like lower than a static because no one got it. They had to look and find the button in the video. Really bad. So right now, we're building quite complicated playables. This one is an example of kind of our tier 1 type of playables. The reason it's so complicated is that it actually has AI in it. And the funny thing is that, so we built this. It took us about 3 months to build this ad. And the funny thing is that we've never worked with Supercell. We've never run a campaign for them, but even though this is for Clash Royale. So this is kind of around innovation. So 20% of all our creative directors' time is supposed to be spent on building very, very tough technical playables and kind of pushing the envelope. So as you can see here, with this playable, the game engine will respond to different things, whatever the user's doing. Really well perform. I'm sure it would perform really good when we have the AI and other kind of stuff. It performs extremely well. But what we do is we basically call it the Moonshot project. So 20% of all the developers' times can be spent to just building really complicated things. So it took us, for the first time, 3 months to build this ad with the AI in it. And now we got that down to about a week and a half to 2 weeks, just because we learned all the stuff the hard way. And even though we never ran a campaign for Supercell, we still got a pretty cool playable. Just a little recap. I was told to kind of keep it to 20 minutes. If anyone has any questions, I do have a beautiful